That started for me was that it's one of the many things my mother used to make just as jams and jellies when I was a kid.
Right.
And they were retired at a small lake north of Prince Albert. And I had been hired by this Parks and Rec in the neighborhood to do a weekend workshop there. And the building that I was going to be teaching at was a walk through the woods in
Right.
the morning. And I showed up with this really dry, painful cough. I was worried about how I was going to get through the day
Yeah.
with this throat. And Mom just said, "Oh, well, here, let's fix that up." And she just went and grabbed a jar of her black currant jelly, put a big heaping tablespoon in a Go cup, and stirred it up with hot water,
Yeah.
and gave me that. And by the time I got to the building, my throat was fine,
Oh, wow.
and that's where that all started,
Yeah, yeah.
was
Yeah.
just with some homemade jelly.
Right. Cool. Yeah, because you made it for a number of years, I think, in classes
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
type of
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one that we used to go and pick in Rotary Park. There's a couple of bushes there, and we would
Yeah.
just go over that way. And
Yeah.
Alex, again, the neighbor I mentioned with the dog sitting, she had a big bush in front of her house as well, and
Mm-hmm.
she would leave them for us to raid. But it got to the point where I would have to pick up more at the farmer's market,
Right. Yeah.
so.
Yeah, it's something I grow in the yard, and yeah, it's such a delicious berry, and it's got its ties to the old world. People really used to treasure that fruit. Maybe not so much these days, but
Well, the whole currant family, there's now around currants. We get on these segues. Are we still running?
we're currently on currants.
You and your one-liners.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just trying to. That's ribes.
Yeah, ribes.
Ribes. We've got black currant and red currant and gooseberries.
Yeah.
And in nature, a lot of things like we think about cactus would be the extreme example, have saved many lives because they hold so much water
Right.
that you can survive in the desert eating cactus. And what you have to do is carefully cut some and then roll them around in. I had an old Cree fella taught me this for the. It doesn't matter. It was blackberries. So blackberries black currants and red currants always have protection in some way.
Right.
They could be prickles on the stem,
Yeah.
or little. They're not as bad as like rose bushes or anything,
Right.
but little hairy things that are
Yeah.
annoying on the berries.
Yeah.
And he taught me to just take some coals from the fire and the lid off my wok and pretend I was panning gold.
Right. Okay.
And the coals would kind of sizzle all the little hairs off, and then they didn't bother me eating them in my yogurt in the morning,
Right. Cool.
So, but they all have the red currant crushed. There's a term, if it hasn't come up lately, the word rob
Right.
means to just crush a herb into just whatever you want to call that, just
Yeah.
crushed herb. An old name for that was a rob, just
rob.
R-O-B.
Yeah.
And red currant rob would be something native here that would be the next best thing to aloe vera
Right.
to put on a severe burn,
Oh.
like a sunburn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then gooseberries, of course, as long as they're remotely ripe, are good. And again, they're very astringent.
Right.
So if you had a rash, not as good as plantain leaves, but any of the ribes crushed up would be good on a sting
Yeah.
or bite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was all another whole show.
Cool.
So I better shut up now.
All right. Bye for now.